Hi, Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and here's another interview in my series of interviews with subscribers. Enjoy! Okay, so this week I have my special guest is Lisa Marie uh, Esposito, right? Did I
Yes,
say that right?
yes,
Okay, a little
correct.
tongue-tied there with it. And she's from Country Treasures, and she makes wonderful creations. This is not going to be an interview with a quilter as much as it's an interview with a creator, which is just fine by me because I like to interview people that do all kinds of creative things. And Lisa Marie fits into that category. So, Lisa Marie, where are you in general located?
I'm in Kentucky, Monticello, Kentucky.
Ah, in Kentucky. Okay, that's great. And so let's jump right in. How long have you been doing what you're doing? How long have you been a creator? Lifetime or something new?
Yeah, this was one of those questions I really don't have a start date. I know I was young. My mom tells me ever since I was young, I was into creative things. But I think the biggest thing was when we had, and I've heard other women say this and men, but actually, I don't think men could have home ec. You couldn't have
No,
home,
not not
could you?
not my age bracket. No, could not make
No,
it.
I was going to say, because that really taught me cooking and sewing. And
Right.
that sewing machine just enticed me.
Yeah, it's today in the school system. I am a retired school teacher, and today in the school system, they do allow it to be unisex. Like if the girls
Okay.
want to take shop, if the girls or the boys want to take what I'm not sure what they call it now. They keep changing the name. I think when I retired, they were calling it Family and Consumer Studies. The boys can take it, which I think is a good idea. I think a boy needs to learn how to do these things as well. And I think it's a good idea for the girls to get into the shops and things like that. But in my day and age, no. And I would have loved to have taken home ec, but nope, didn't allow, no men allowed, no boys allowed. So I'm glad that has changed over the years. So you
Yes.
basically have been a lifelong creator since you were a child. And
Yes.
my next question was going to be, but I think we already have the answer for it, is how did you get started? So I'm going to change that question a little bit and say, what is your earliest memory of being a creator?
Well, again, it started from home ec, and I remember making, of course, in home ec, you had to make clothing. You couldn't make anything else. And I started with that. And then, hey, I'll have to be honest here. I used to square dance,
Yeah.
and I decided I was going to make some of my outfits because, especially the dresses, were very, very expensive.
Yeah, I
So,
used to square dance too, so I know what you
did
mean.
you? Oh, I
Yes, I did.
loved it.
It
I
was
loved it.
brief. It was very brief, but yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's good exercise. It's just my
Yes, it was.
with the calls, trying to remember everything when
Oh,
they
yes.
call out.
Oh,
So
yes. I started when I was in fifth grade. So I was probably about 9, 10 years old when I started because it was a teen dance club. And yeah, I danced for many years.
so you made your outfits then. So you did sewing. Have you
Yes.
ever done quilting?
I will tell you, I have a good friend. And she had told me, I always said I'd do quilting once I got older and could retire or whatever. Anyways, and so she finally said during COVID, she's like, "You got the time. Why don't you try a quilt?" So I had a jelly roll. And so that helped me because, I figured that took away the trying to matching up of the fabrics.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I loved doing the top, but that was it. I didn't like the border, the binding, the backing, all that. That to me was just too much. And where I am, there's no long armors around or anything. So I hand tied it and everything. And I proudly display it on my couch. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was the best I could do. And
Well,
that showed me.
yeah. Well, you're not alone. A lot of people get into quilting. They enjoy making the top, doing the piecing,
Mhm.
but they do not like doing the rest of it, the layering, the quilting, the binding.
Yeah.
Some send it out, what's called quilting by check. for that. But yeah, it's not for everyone. So, there's no shame in that. You gave it a
And
try.
I
That's worth it. But so just before we start talking about what you actually okay, that sounds bad. What you do,
That's funny.
did you have anyone in your family influence you as a creator? Did you have creative individuals with your parents or anything like that?
And it's funny you ask that because I was talking to my mom on Sunday, and she has a sewing machine, but she's never used it. And so I asked her, I said, I remember when my great grandmother was still alive, um I was in my 20s, but anyways, she used to sew. So it's that far back. So I can't really say she influenced me because I really never got to meet her.
Oh, okay.
But it's that far back only on my mother's side. My father's side, nobody sewed.
Hmm. So it's interesting how you got started then. So I guess your inspiration came from taking the home ec class.
Yes, definitely.
Well, that's good. We all have different avenues of inspiration. So let's get talking a little bit more about what it is that you create. So what is it that you create?
Well, I'll tell you what I put on my business cards because this is probably the best way to sum it up because it's been a long time, so I make a lot. Put it as gifts, decor, and keepsakes with a touch of country.
Yeah. Okay. So you do a
So,
little bit of everything, and we're going to explore some of those things in just a moment because you sent me some
okay.
pictures of some of your great creations. Um, but do you have a favorite creation or sort of maybe a series of creations that you like to?
I tell people I specialize in angels. I love making angels. I have made a gnome angel too, which
Ah,
I was going to send you a picture of, but I didn't. I don't think I sent that in there. But I gravitate towards angels and Christmas things because people buy ornaments and such at Christmas more than any other time. But angels um, have become a little bit of a specialty. I also branched out where I will take loved ones' clothing and make items out of those. And I've done
okay.
a lot I've been honored to be able to do that sentimental piece for those people too. So that's helped. I
That's it.
enjoy that.
That's interesting because there are many quilters who do what they call memory quilts that are made from
Yes.
clothing of people who have passed on and that kind of thing.
Yes.
It's kind of nice to see that translates into other creations as well. But speaking of your creations, I'm just going to throw up here on the screen some of the pictures that you sent me, and
Sure.
I'll have you tell me a little bit about each one as they come up. Can you see the first slide?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so
Um,
tell us about this.
that's an old craft, if you want to put it that way, an old creation of fabric yo-yos, or they used to call them Suffolk puffs. Puffs, excuse me there. And I just took it to a new dimension. This was the second year that I made, actually, if you want to call it a series, I have the tree, the snowman, and I have an angel. And I did them last year in different colors. Last year, I only did a tree and an angel. So the snowman came to me this year, and he's been very popular.
Say, well, they're really quite cute. And yeah, I think they'd be great pieces to have out at Christmas time. So now you've got a whole bunch of other little cute things here. What are these?
These are my chenille snowmen, and people just love these guys. Chenille, I love the chenille. This is actually a popcorn chenille, but even their little scarves are chenille bedspreads that I dyed to get those special colors that I wanted. And yeah, I've got chenille bedspreads. I've got quite a few.
So these
Uh,
these are basically are these Christmas tree ornaments, or I suppose you could
Y-
put them on presents.
Yes, but they are, yeah, some people, I mean, Christmas tree ornaments, but I mean, I don't know about you, but I like to hang them sometimes on your kitchen cabinet
Mm,
knobs or your
yeah,
doorknobs, or if you want to give somebody or put it on top of a present, it makes a nice little decoration to put on top
yeah.
of a present. You don't always have to have a bow.
No, and but they are very, very cute. Now, in the next slide, what about these on wooden spools?
Yes, those, oh gosh, I love making those. Actually, I make my own fabric twine, so that's why if you look really close, the um, fabric that is wrapped around there, I've actually made into a twine, a rope type thing.
That,
So I can mix up the colors, and it's just fun. And of course, it's got my angels hanging off the bottom there, and
yeah,
I've used some distressed ink to color the spools in that beautiful brown color. It's a vintage photo
yeah,
ink.
they're really nice. Where do you get the spools from? Because wooden spools aren't easy to come by now.
Well, it's funny. I do have a lot of antique wooden spools,
Hmm,
um, or I should say older. I don't know how old they have to be antique, but I've got some wooden spools that did have thread on them. But these I had actually bought many years ago. Like I said, I've done things a lot of years, and I've always bought wholesale. So when I bought them, I didn't buy a little pack of 6. I bought a bag of 50.
yeah, yeah, go big or go home,
Yeah,
sort of a thing. And I love the little angel pieces that are hanging from the bottom as well. That
yes.
that really finishes them off, I think.
I think so too. And I've done them in all different colors. If your favorite color is purple or blue or whatever, I've done them as most of the stuff I do now, I do made to order.
And
So
how do
I
you,
can specialize it for you.
okay, that's good to know. And how do you make the actual fibers thread? Like, is it small strips put together of, you cut
It's
them?
it's not a braid, it's more of like a twist, I guess you want to say. And you can actually use that twine. I make it into angels, but you can actually use it if you want instead of ribbon.
No.
If you want to tie up a box to give a gift, you can also use it like that. And it's actually, I take 2 strips. And people use varying widths for something like this. I like to use like 3/4 of an inch, and it's just another technique, I
Yeah.
guess I should put it.
Well,
I
it's
don't like to give away all my secrets,
no, you
but
don't, because we are going to come to your store as well a little bit later on the interview. But a very unique idea. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. So that's great. So here's another one. And these are, oh, these are really cute.
these came out of, I don't know where sometimes my ideas come from, but I had the little wooden blocks, and of course we all have scraps, right?
Right.
Well, I decided, I said, well, I'm going to try putting the scraps on there. And I know you were even talking the other day about Mod Podge
Yeah.
and how it's just, white glue and water and such. So I make my own. I have them in baby food jars and such. And I use that to attach the little pieces of fabric. Those are 1-inch cubes.
Hmm.
And of course, again, I can vary the colors and vary the styles. And some of them have like 2 fabrics, some of them have a different fabric on each side. So I cut up little 1-inch squares and put them on. And it's funny because, of course, when you make smaller things, people think that it's easier.
No.
I do a lot. Most of my stuff is small things. I like to specialize in small things, but a lot of times they take longer to make than larger things.
With a little more fiddly, right?
Right, definitely. But I mean, I enjoy it. I've can't say I've perfected, but I make my own little faces and everything.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just fun. I enjoy
yeah,
it. It's
they
not
are.
work. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, they're cute. They really are quite, and they're very unique. Again, something I have not seen before. And here's something that looks like a lot of fun.
Yes. Actually, that came. about from the gnome angel, which I'll have to send you a picture of that afterwards.
Yeah,
But
I'd love to
anyways,
see that.
I had made the gnome angel and somebody looked at it and she says, well, I want one of those. But sometimes I get my inspirations from my customers because she said, I want one, but can you put a Santa hat on it with a pom pom
Mm.
and stuff? And I thought to myself, and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And so these came about and everybody loves their beards. And
Now, did you make the beards, like from scratch, like
uh, I
from
can't
yarn?
say I can't say really I did, but it's actually the fringe that was on some of my chenille bedspreads. You know,
Oh, okay,
you can't get rid of this stuff, and not all of them have this type of trim on them,
right.
but some of mine did. And so as I used the chenille, I put that part aside, saying, well, I'll find something to do with this someday. And they make wonderful beards. I mean, it's not as simple as just putting it on, but I
Yeah.
make it look that way.
So basically, you're keeping to the philosophy of recycle, reuse.
A
Uh,
lot of my things, yes. Like I said, I do try. I mean, yes, I buy yardage of fabric,
yeah.
but I do try to recycle and reuse whenever I can. Yes.
But I think that's where the creative potential comes from, is looking at something that was intended for one use and finding a new and creative product for it.
Unfortunately, though, sometimes you want to save almost everything because then you say, if you have, I don't know, if you use half of a popsicle stick, you save the other half
Yeah.
because you might need it for something else.
Yep. I know that because I come from a crafting background too. And yep, the same thing. I had
Yeah.
boxes of things because you never know, you might be able to do
And
something
it's
with
so
that.
funny because you must have done this too, is sometimes you say, oh gosh, I've had that for 20 years and I haven't used it. I should get rid of it. And then something pops in your head and you say, oh, why did I get rid of that?
Yep. Exactly, exactly. And this is the last picture we have here, but you were talking about the fact that you seem to, like, angels seem to be one of your uh favorite things to make. And here's an
Yes.
example of one of your
Yes.
angels.
And this is the one that I came along with this year. And again, she matches up with the tree and the snowman. But again, I had a customer that wrote to me and she said she has lost her mother. And I don't remember if it was a niece or somebody else that was younger in her family recently. And what they do is her and her sisters all each year give each other items in the color of blue because it was the favorite color of both of those women. And I had the honor this year of not using clothing, but she asked me if I had blue fabric, and I made a set of 8 of those in just solid blue fabric, and they are beautiful.
Yep.
Still have the white wings and the silver halo and so on, but it was just all in blue fabric, and it means a lot to them. So
Yeah.
I feel so honored when I know that I like my stuff to go to loving homes. I always say I put a lot of love and care into everything I make, and I want to make sure that they go to a loving home. And when they're
Yeah.
meaningful like that, I feel special
Yeah.
because they asked me to do it.
And also, you know that this is being appreciated as well. Your work
Yes.
isn't just, oh, isn't that cute? Sit it on a shelf for a while and then it gathers dust and nobody cares about it again. Which I think,
Hmm.
I think that's the death of a creator, is when something they have spent all this time and effort into, and if it just gets put on the back burner by somebody else, it makes you feel, well, why did I bother, kind of a thing.
I know.
But I wanted to ask you about the wings on this angel. That looks like
Yes.
a doily. Is that what it is?
Actually, it's a piece of, I'm not sure if it's an curtain or I don't know what it might have been used for. Sometimes I get lace curtains and stuff, but it was something I picked up at like a church rummage sale because it wasn't perfect, and I look at it and I say, oh, but this part of it, can be this.
And
So yeah, I'm not really sure what it was, because when I got it, it was, a little ragged and
yeah,
torn and stuff and
yeah.
on one side. And
And do you stiffen it with like Mod Podge or, whatever solution you use?
that one I don't need to. No, actually,
Already
that one
stiff.
I don't
Okay.
need to.
Well, those are really nice. All of your creations are lovely, and I know you have them available for sale, and we'll come to your Etsy shop in a moment or two. But I'm just switching some things over here on my screen. Yeah. So now I want to turn our attention to how would you describe yourself as a creator? And this is a hard question. Would you consider yourself traditional, freeform, experimental,
To be honest, I guess I have to say all of them at some point. Um, for the most, I like to keep into the country style. I love homespuns and jute and wood and cinnamon sticks and that stuff. But if I've branched out a little bit, I mean, I do some things when I put a rhinestone on it or something to give it some sparkle and bling. And it all depends on the person. Some people are like, no, I want the wooden button on there. Another person will say, no, I want the shiny rhinestone. So I think to keep um to keep up with trends, to keep up with you know everything that's going on, you do need to be a little bit flexible in there,
right?
because if I only said I only have homespun and I only use jute and this and that,
Yeah,
you might not be into that. You might want something a little bit different. Or, and again, I take ideas and thoughts from my customers. They'll say to me, well, I had one recently that said, well, I've got all these things that you've made, but have you made any stars?
hmm,
And I was thinking about it and I said, no. And she's like, my tree could use some stars. So when you get good customers like that,
yeah,
I went and I thought up an idea and I presented her with some stars. Um, so it's always a little bit of everything. Sometimes it's the supplies you have. Like I
right.
said, I've been doing for so long. I have boxes and boxes of supplies, and I bought things. I used to buy things by the bolt.
Mm.
I bought felt by the bolt. I've got, a lot of stuff like that. And so it's like, how can I use this? How can I incorporate it so you're not buying? I'm not saying I'm not a fabricaholic, because I still buy fabric,
Right.
but again, some of it is because people will say, especially what this year, it's like they want turquoise and they want aqua and, different colors that, my fabrics are not.
Yeah. So you basically, most of your creations then, would you say, are customized, that you people commission you basically to make things and they suggest to you what they'd like them made out of?
Sometimes, or I do, if I have an inkling of something and I make something, I don't usually copy anybody's stuff. I have to say that yes, when you first start out, that's what you do, because you figure if they made it, then it's good, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But I rely on myself a lot of times to come up with these ideas. And just because I think it's cute or I think it'll sell doesn't mean that you're going to appreciate it, or enough people are going to appreciate it that it's going to be something to keep doing. So that's one reason why I set up my Facebook group, is that way there I have a group of people that enjoy my creations. And that way there I kind of put them on there before I put them on my website, because if nobody on there says anything about them, or whatever,
Yeah,
you could get a sense of what might be popular to a
right.
broader in a broader spectrum.
Yeah. So I am assuming you are in your work area. So is it a large area? Can you describe it? How do you have it set?
um it's to be honest, this was supposed to be the master bedroom in this house, and it's probably the smallest room in the house. Um, so I took this over, and I have my machine and most of my fabrics and such in here, but I do have another bedroom that I have extra supplies. I've got a lot of wood supplies. I've got a lot of just a lot of other stuff in big containers and such. But So I go into there sometimes too to get
So
things,
how do
but
you organize your supplies? Because I'm sure you have a lot.
ooh, um, well, let's just say I've moved a few times, so things get switched around. And as I use things, especially in this season, I've been making Christmas items since August. So um, sometimes it's hard to keep organized,
Yeah. Hmm.
and I'm just going to get to a point that right now I'm going to probably, kind of keep moving away the mess so that I can create. And then you usually have that little lull after the holidays and such, or when it gets close to the holidays and people aren't ordering as much, when I will try to get everything back organized. But I do a lot of orders. So right now, I have to keep those in order too.
Right.
Uh, I have like, over a dozen people that have ordered from me, but either don't want it yet or haven't paid for it, or I'm working on more things for them.
Yeah.
So there's a
Yeah.
lot to organize.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot of that too. So do you have a favorite tool or technique or method that you would turn to on a regular basis?
I have to say right now I have two things that are my favorite, and they're kind of in the same realm. One, of course, is my rotary cutter,
Hmm.
and I have an AccuQuilt Go Me, which is the hand crank one.
Right.
But it has helped me a lot because fabric yo-yos, the template is a circle.
Hmm.
And so I searched high and low for something that could cut circles more effectively than I can. I do have nice acrylic templates, but when you're making almost 200 of these things, or last year I made 186 of the ornaments, so that's 1,860 circles.
Right.
um, you get tired of cutting circles. So I found that this works for me. Some people don't like the hand crank or whatever and such, but for me, I found that it's very helpful, and it makes it more accurate. You try to hold a template on a piece of fabric and cut around it, and you don't always get a
Yeah.
circle.
No, that's true. And with
So
something like a
I
rotary cutter, cutting circles is not that easy. It's very easy to
No,
skip.
I find that too. I don't cut anything that's got a curve or anything with the rotary cutter. But of course, when I do the fabric twine and such, a lot of times I love ripping fabric. Oh, I love ripping fabric. It's like it's therapeutic. Um, but as you know, if you buy strips, even if you buy jelly roll strips, they're not always cut on the bias so that you can rip them
That's right.
very easily and get a nice texture. So sometimes the rotary cutter comes out, and I have my mats and I have my cutters, and yes.
Everything like that. Yep. And as a creator, you acquire a lot of equipment over time, don't
Yes.
you? So,
Yes. And that's why I had to really look into a lot of things, because when I put it out there, I asked people on various groups and stuff, what do you use to cut your fabric? And of course, I heard AccuQuilt, and I can't think of the other name now. The other one that everybody uses. Cricket.
oh, yeah,
They use a
right.
Cricket, or somebody told me another name too. But
Scan and cut.
you know, yes, yes, I looked
Yeah.
into those, and I really had to think about it because some of them were really intriguing.
Hmm.
But between the price, and if you could only do one piece of fabric at a time and such, it just
Yep. You have to find what's going to work for your environment. And speaking of equipment and things, if you had all the money in the world, it was no object, is there a piece of equipment that you'd really like to invest in?
I I don't really know that there's anything that I have two sewing machines. Most of the time I only use one, of course, but I don't know. I would think it would be a little bit different for me. I think I would have somebody come in and maybe make shelving units and such for me to help me organize what I have. Most of my stuff is in those plastic crates, and they don't always stand up as well as you'd like them to, or stack as well as you'd like them to. So
True.
yeah, maybe cabinetry and shelving and stuff, which I know is probably different than what you're asking, but
Well, no, not really.
yeah,
Because
just
yeah, I can see the shelving thing. Storage is important and
and
to
like
keep things organized, right? So, yeah,
and to know where to go, because like you said, I know you've said it before, if you have all your fabric in a drawer, well, and if you get other fabric out, you're going to look at the fabric you have out before you're going to look at the fabric in the drawer.
and I'm sure that's the same with your other equipment, or not equipment, but your other crafting items as well. If they're, I know when I was doing crafting, I had a lot of things in drawers and I forget that I had them.
Right, exactly. And then you don't use them, and
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
waste.
and sometimes
So,
anyways.
have you ever belonged to like a design team or an in-person group? And I know you have a Facebook group, so I'm not talking about that right now. I mean, just
No, I know.
another one, another group that helped you.
Uh, Before we moved to Kentucky, we lived in Connecticut. When I was, this is quite a few years back, but I actually ran the church craft group, um, which at the time was mostly elders, very, very skilled, talented elders, that you find when you have a group, that just because you enjoy something or you find something a little bit easier, like I can probably make those fabric yo-yos, with my eyes closed.
Mhm.
And I had tried to get the group to do it. It was funny because, well, I kind of laugh, but I had to take them home sometimes. And even though somebody could hand quilt a beautiful quilt, they couldn't make a nice fabric yo-yo. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So it was more of, I didn't tell them what to do. We kind of left it up to them, whatever you were good at. It was almost like, when you do your sew along days, you know, you're not saying we all have to make this. It's whatever you're creating, but you're all together.
Right, right.
So I kind of left it at that. And then, I did craft shows for over 25 years. So that was a chance for me to, get out and show my
Yeah,
items. And that was in Connecticut. Kentucky is a whole different ballgame with craft shows and COVID
yeah, and all that. Yeah,
and all that.
yeah. And we
So
as creators too, we do need to have an outlet to at least share our creations with other people, because it's the feedback which can be constructive and helps us press on in our creative journey. And also in that, we just like to feel appreciated sometimes. We need a little pat on the back to say, yeah, I love what you're doing, kind of a thing. So
exactly.
where do you get all your supplies? Do you have favorite stores? Do you do it online? Do you do it in person shopping? Combination thereof?
Right now, I really try to use what I have, like you said about the spools and a lot of that stuff. And if something's popular and I do run out or whatever, I do have to go online. I don't have a Joann's near me. Um, we have a Hobby Lobby, but it's like 35 minutes out. And let's just put it this way, I don't usually drive out there. And my husband does not appreciate going into Hobby Lobby. So we don't, I can't say, can we stop? Because no. So I have ordered online from both of those stores, and I have to say I go to Amazon a lot too, because sometimes you've got to, I like to compare pricing and the whole 9 yards. I need a deal. I like to look for a deal.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of us, especially when COVID hit and that, we had a new appreciation for online shopping in whatever craft or hobby we do. So yeah, I can definitely see that. And in the same vein, do you have any favorite sources for inspiration or information, like certain YouTube channels or websites?
I've looked on YouTube channels, and sometimes, again, I just use it as inspiration. I don't, just like I wouldn't want you to look at one of my things and copy it exactly. I try to look for ideas or concepts, or Pinterest is good for that too,
Mhm.
especially in my realm. If I'm deciding again, the stars, well, I did go on there and look for different ideas and look for different ways or something like that to do. Um, but again, I try to take it my own route,
Right.
because I mean, I've had some issues with my items where I had one lady almost blatantly copy one
Mm.
of my items, and she actually she was on my Facebook group, and I had to talk to her about it. I said, I don't mind being an inspiration, but if you're going to sell your items on the internet next to mine, I said, I don't want you to do that.
And
And it's hard because we put it out there.
yeah, and there's a lot
And
of
I
people
do have,
that will do copying and the whole bit. They don't respect creative license.
and that's it. And I do have some ladies that very kindly. I had one this week. She says, "Is it okay that I use your ideas as inspiration?" And I wrote back to her and I thanked her, of course, first for asking, and then I said, "But I've seen what you make, and you've used me as inspiration. But if you put the two together, she doesn't make it exactly like I do. She's not trying to copy it. She's just, again, using that idea and running with it at what she wants,
Right.
what she wants to offer. And she does do craft shows and such, but she's not in my area and she doesn't sell online. So, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. Well,
That's fine.
what they say, copy is the best form of flattery,
Yeah.
but there's a limit to that as well.
Yes. I,
And it,
I got myself into that one time on another group, and because I was showing things off and everybody was like, well, how did you make that, what did you use, and I just kindly put that this was, this is my livelihood and I don't give away all my secrets.
yeah.
And I had some blatantly coming out against me saying, you can't say that, you can't
Mhm.
do that, if you posted the picture, we can ask questions and you should. And I just
No.
I just blocked them all, because I'm
Yeah.
like, there was some people on my side. I can't say nobody was on my side, but there were some people, they were actually laughing at me and such because I was trying to protect my items.
Yeah. You're protecting your creative license with it. It's your intellectual property. And yeah, and people who do that kind of thing, because I've run into that before too.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sure.
and they get so, like you said, they get so angry with you because you won't share your secrets with them. Well, no, I came up with this idea. I went through the trial and error to put it together. I used my time, my effort. you know
Exactly.
I'm happy that it inspires you. That's great. But no, I am under no obligation to tell you exactly how I make this. And people do get upset, but that's fine. They're the people
It's
I don't
true
want
though,
to
because
associate
we
with.
do. We
Yeah.
do. We take lots of time. I mean, there's some items, and I'm sure you've done it.
Yeah.
You sew it up. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing, and then you get that seam ripper out because you did it all wrong, and
Yeah.
it's, you went back and you fixed it for whatever reason. If you were following a pattern or if you weren't, a lot of times, yeah, I make things and then I throw them in the garbage because it's like, no, that's not what I had the idea for. And then you start again. And
Yeah.
like you said, time, materials, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
people don't see that.
if you were in the business of writing and selling patterns or instructions, that's one thing. But when you're not, these people need to get a grip. The copycats. I think they're looking, those type of people, in my opinion, are looking for the easy road to success. And there is
Yes.
no easy road to success. That's just blatant
That's
fraudulent.
why yeah, I don't care to watch a lot of the videos on the, I bought this at Dollar Tree and then this is what I did with it.
Yeah.
I, that is creative, but maybe
It's
like halfway, maybe
yeah.
halfway. I don't know. In other words, they are doing something with something, but I just feel like It's not the same. It's not the
No,
same. You
I
didn't
know
take that
exactly
piece
what
of
you mean.
fabric and make it into
Yeah,
something.
yeah, it's not, it's a different level of creativity, and I think it's basically it's cheating, from that, so I found this wooden sign, I painted over it and put new words on it. Wow, like, okay, no. But I'm sure there will be those out there that would definitely disagree with us on that one. So
Oh, definitely.
we'll
And
just
there's
leave
a
it at that.
place for it. There's a
Yeah,
place for it, and I understand that. In other words, somebody's not going to pay me $5 for one of those ornaments if
right.
somebody else went to the Dollar Tree and put it, and sold it for $3 or whatever. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a place for everything. It
yeah,
depends
sure.
what people want.
Yes, exactly. So, speaking of wants, do you have any challenges or goals for the future in terms of projects you might want to do without giving too much information away? Because, these are your ideas here. So,
Um, the only thing that I can say that I've just started to try out, and I've put my stuff up on a wholesaling site. So I've only put up 5 items so far, and what it is it's putting my stuff out there for retailers to buy
mm,
my items. Um, for a couple reasons, just because for me, I always feel like if you see an opportunity and if you think it might work, if you don't try it, you will never know.
true.
And there's no output for me or anything unless I get an order. And if I don't get an order and I want to cancel it, I can cancel it. So that's that. And I also, I hate to say this because right now I have a lot of ideas, but I feel like what happens if one of these days I just don't have any more ideas?
Hmm, true. But I think you
I know.
have ideas, and so,
I know, but it's just one of those things that
yeah,
if you have an idea, and again, you go through all that process of your materials, your time, and you put it out there, and nobody says, "Yeah, I like it."
yeah,
You kind of go, "Oh."
okay, yeah, well, move on, kind of a thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's what we're here for.
So let's talk about your business, your media connections, social media connections, everything. Now, I know you sent the list to me, and I'm going to put those
Yes.
show notes for this interview, but let's just talk a little bit about them. Like, let's talk about your website, countrytreasuresbylisamarie.com. What will someone find when they go to that website?
They will find, I don't know how many items I have on there at this time, but again, a lot of my decor, some of it, actually on there, it's mostly, more country stuff, I would say.
Right.
And I only take an item that I've made and showed off um, on my Facebook group if it gets a good uh, response. Sorry, I lose words.
That's okay.
If it gets a real good response on there, I have to just think about it before I put it on my website, only because you want to make sure that you really do enjoy creating that and that you have enough supplies and you're willing to keep going with it.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true. Um, so that's really, is that where people can buy your creations then, is the website?
yes, because that's actually um, let's put it this way. I'm on a marketplace called Go Imagine. Now,
Oh,
Go Imagine gives 100% of their profits to children's charities.
ah,
They are only about 2 years old. They are similar to Etsy, except, like I said, with their profit monies. And what they do is there's a tier that you can have your own website. So it's called Mosaic, and that's when you can have your own website with your own name on it.
oh, okay.
So, in other words, if I gave you that website, when you went there, all you would see was my items. If you went to my website on their marketplace and you looked up angels, you would get angels from all different creators that are on that marketplace.
I see.
I don't know if that for some people that doesn't make sense, but they're both connected, they're both the
Yeah.
same, they both have the same items. But if you asked me about my items, I'd rather send you to my website.
And actually, I'm going to share the screen right now because I've gone to your website, and
Mhm.
so people can get a feel for it. They can study this in a little bit more detail when they link on it themselves. But I see you've got everything listed there, and your prices are very reasonable, I would say, because
You
I
know,
know how
I
much
try
time
to
it takes you.
um it's one of those things that I have to put it in perspective. Most of the supplies I have, and I still price everything out. Believe me, I write down and I write down all the materials, I write down all the prices and such, and I even go shop for them. Say if I needed more spools, I've looked up what the price of the spools would be if I had to buy them. Um, so I do all that paperwork, but I just I don't know. I enjoy it, so it's not work, and I put the prices on that I would pay for them. Let's just put it that way. And I'd rather sell two of those than you saying, "Well, I really like it, but it's $10, so I'm only going to buy one."
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd rather
Yeah.
sell more, and I think it's a win-win for
Yeah.
me.
It's a difficult thing to price what you have made.
Oh, it sure is. It is very difficult because some people look at it and say, "But it's only 2 inches tall, and you want
Yeah.
$4 for it?"
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I noticed that you have two Facebook pages. You have your business Facebook page and you have your Facebook group. Do you want to talk about each of those a little bit?
Well, my Facebook group is I think I try to do fun things in there. Sometimes I do little giveaways. I like to again post if I have a new item. I like to post it up there and get feedback on that. Anybody who joins, they post things that they do and stuff. It is a private group. So I have to let people in, which means the posts aren't shareable, but that's the way Facebook works. And as I've been told before, we have to remind ourselves that Facebook is free. So
Yes.
even though we have issues with it, it's free.
Yeah.
So, and I just like to put stuff up in there. Lately, I've been actually doing some fun auctions
Mm.
because, again, I've got lots of items that, maybe aren't everybody's taste and you still have stock of them or whatever. So I've been doing these fun auctions. People are loving that. Um, yes. And then I set up my business Facebook page. Um, I have a friend, somebody from Go Imagine that has a little bit more technical, is a little more tech savvy than I am. I'm not, because I was trying to master Instagram.
All right.
Okay, I'm going all over the place with this, but I'm trying to get myself out there. And I was getting really frustrated when I had to put, when say I had a new item. Well, then I had to put it on my Facebook group, my personal page, my professional page, and on Instagram, I'm like the same thing. And so she showed me how to hook up Instagram and my business Facebook page together, so I can post on Instagram and it goes to both.
Right.
So that helped me because that was something that I did not understand and could not comprehend. So, you meet people along the way that help you move that little bit step
Yeah.
further because
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but technology was not in our ball game when we were younger and we did not grow up with this.
No, that's true.
So,
So there's a learning curve, that's for sure. And
oh,
then
there
of course,
sure is.
you have an Etsy shop and
I only did that. I only have a few items over there. Right, I think I have 9 or 10, I guess, or something. I lost track. But I put things there because Go Imagine, again, I said is kind of actually, what did they say? They're in like their middle stage. They're not babies anymore, but
right.
they're not Etsy. They're not Amazon, selling on Amazon. So I put some things over there just to kind of get noticed a little bit. And I only did that about a month or so ago, only because I felt like, well, again, something else to try
Yeah.
to see if you can grow a little bit.
And
Right. And I'm the only person, I do everything. So,
yeah,
I don't want to get
hours in
overwhelmed,
the
but
day. And it's good though,
that's it.
because you're putting yourself out there in a variety of different social media formats. So, someone might go to your Etsy store, but then they'll find your website and the other sources of your stuff. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to have,
Exactly.
a presence in several different areas on the internet for that. Well, as I said, I will put all those links into the show notes for this interview. So, my last question for you then is, what advice would you give somebody who's been inspired by this interview and to think, I would like to get, I do a lot of creative things. I'd like to get it out there for other people to see, possibly start a business with it. Do you have any advice for somebody starting out in that vein?
Basically, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Like you said before, as we go along, we accumulate a lot of things. But when we first started, um, you might have had a little bit of fabric and, some sewing needles or an old sewing machine or something. And that's anybody. I know there was one lady that contacted me and she said she was interested in doing that. And she didn't even have a sewing machine and such.
Hmm.
And so she's like, well, which one should I get? And I told her, I says, why don't you try like secondhand shops
Hmm.
or find out if somebody has one you can borrow. I says, I'd hate to have you go buy a machine and then find out, well, sewing is just not for me. I mean, I had one other friend that did do that. She wanted to make something and she thought she could do it because she saw me sewing, and she said she ended up giving the project to me. Let's just put it bottom line. She tried sewing and it didn't work, and she's like, that's not for me. And so I would say, yeah, start slow and just understand that it is a lot of work.
Yeah. And
It's a
it's a
lot of work.
process. It's a process,
Right. And you take baby steps, you got to try different things.
right?
um I mean, like, I know you give you're gracious enough and you give a lot of yours away as gifts and such, or you have them piled up, you said, in a room or
Oh
something.
yeah,
But
I have them piled up for sure.
we all have that too. But you just need to understand that if you're going to sell things to the public, if your favorite color is blue, but the color out there everybody wants, green or purple or something, and you make everything blue, you might not sell as much. So
True.
you've really got to work with your customers, and sometimes, get out of your little box. I find, because somebody had told me once, you're not doing what you used to do, or you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And it's like, well, homespun isn't as popular anymore, or, whatever. But I mean, things come around again. Things
Yeah,
come
that's
around.
true. That's true. So
Rick
yeah,
Rack used to be popular before, and now it's popular
not
again.
really.
But in between, so just give yourself time and enjoy it.
Mm,
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I do this 7 days a week. This is my life.
yep.
I and I'm in here 6 to 8 hours a day.
Yep.
And I mean,
If
and
you
I'm
didn't
sure you're
enjoy it, it would be miserable.
exactly. It's
So
to me,
yeah,
it's not work. It's keeping my hands busy. I do have osteoarthritis. I wake up in the morning and my hands don't bend, and so I've got to keep them moving. And I find that this helps. And if I'm making you smile when you get something, or you see my pictures, and you just, even if you have, you don't really care for it, you don't need it,
yeah,
but it makes you smile, I've done my job.
yeah. And I think that's really good advice that you've given. Start slow, start small. It's a process. work at it, you'll learn as you go along and enjoy it. I think that's really important. That's why I tell people who want to get into quilting, don't worry about getting a perfect quilt the first time. Don't worry about having it at show quality. If you enjoy what you're doing in the process, you may make lots of mistakes, but that's okay. It's all part of the process. So just enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it,
Maybe that was my problem, is I didn't start off with a wall hanging. I started off with a quilt.
yeah,
I hear that
maybe.
now and I'm like, I should have tried something smaller.
Well, it's never too late to try it again. So, but anyways, thank you so much for this interview. Is there anything before we end that you would like to say that you haven't said already, or we need to
I
know?
think just one more tidbit here, and I'm going to
Sure.
plug Marie for a little bit here,
Yeah.
because I am admin of Marie Scrappy Creations. She has a Facebook group, and her and I are good friends. And so again, I'm an admin on that. And up and coming, and we're thinking in November we're going to do a second tutorial. So, and
Yep.
an instructional video to show you how to make something. So
I,
we're
s-
looking forward to that, and we're hoping. I know you tuned into the last
I
one we
did.
did, and
Yep, it was great.
we had a lot of fun and made something that people could make for their Christmas items and ornaments and stuff. And this will be another one that will be easy to make. So if people are looking for something quick and easy, and you only need a little bit of fabric,
Yep.
tune in, look for that.
So I'll tell people, because I know you don't have a YouTube channel,
No, I do not.
and you
I
should.
don't have time for that.
Yeah, I know it takes a lot of time, believe me, I know that. But Marie does, and I have
Yes, she
interviewed Marie in the past as well. And
Yes.
if there's people out there that don't know who Marie is, then just don't go onto YouTube and do a search for Marie's Scrappy Creations. It's great. And of course, then they'll be, if they subscribe to her, they
Yes.
will know about your upcoming event in November. With
And I think that's how I found you, was through Marie too, because when you interviewed Marie, yeah, I think
yeah,
that was that connection too.
it's a
So
vicious
yes.
circle. Yeah.
It's
Well,
all good. It's all good.
it is. It is. Well, thank you so much, Lisa Marie, for doing this interview with
Well,
me.
thank
It was
you.
great. And I hope lots of people check out your creations. Christmas is coming, people, faster than we may or not want
Definitely.
it to come. So great things for Christmas and gifts and all year round for that matter. So again, thank you, Lisa Marie, for agreeing to this interview and doing it. It was great. I loved meeting you, and I hope to see you again in the near future as well. So thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you for your time and for,
Yep.
accepting my request to
Not
do
a
this.
problem. I'm glad that you reached out to me. So thanks again, and we'll
Awesome.
talk to you again
Thank you.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.